Chris Dan Nord.
Hi, thank you for having me. Probably unlike most candidates, I grew up here, went to grade school, high school, college. I could not wait to leave Bloomington Normal. The grass was always greener on the other side, so I left. I went up to Chicago, lived up there for 10 years, lived the uptown lifestyle. Then I got married and wanted to raise kids, and that was when I decided I wanted to come back to Bloomington because I realized what I left and what Bloomington Normal had to offer. So did not come back for a job, built my own job. My wife works out of Washington, D.C. here, so we are here absolutely not for work. We came here for everything except for work. And I didn't pay attention to politics when I was young. When I came back, you know, my kids are in school now, and then you start paying attention to politics. And when I did, I couldn't believe what we were doing and how we were spending money and where that money was coming from. When we give up tax abatements, which basically we're telling businesses or whomever that you don't have to pay property tax or we're going to give some back, that comes out of the school district. It was supposed to be geared towards the school districts. So now we're educating our kids below some sort of corporate business initiative. These business initiatives, these are not businesses that are bringing in new permanent jobs. Most of these businesses are already here, or it's a business that has come in and said, hey, it's not profitable for us to sell our dogs in your town or our clothes in your town, and it's going to cost us $2 million. That's how much we're going to lose. And the town says, you know, okay, we'll pay you that $2 million in some sort of incentive. What that's setting up businesses to set up shop, they get their incentive. Now, years down the road, when that incentive ends, they're going to get back to the table. They're going to say, hey, this incentive has ended. Now it's no longer profitable for us to operate in your town. Either extend the incentives, or we're going to have to let all our people go, close the doors, and we're going to say it's because we can't be profitable in your town. That is wrong. I mean, that is not what we should be doing for our economy. For our economy, it is pretty simple what we need to do. We just need to bring in more people to share in this tax burden, more businesses to share in this tax burden. That should be our driving focus for economic development. And what do we do to bring in people to share in this tax burden? We need to get the jobs here. So we need to try to attract businesses. And the only two requirements we should have are that they hire local and they bring in money from outside the area. That is it. And those are the ones we should incentivize. If it's a company that comes in and says, hey, we're going to hire local, but we're just going to sell goods and take money out of the local population, you know, they should not qualify for a tax incentive. They need us more than we need them. A company like Brandt Industries, they make ag equipment, okay? There's probably few people here that will buy ag equipment, or few people in Normal that will buy ag equipment. But that company hires local and they bring in money from out of the area. Those are exactly the companies we should be trying to attract. There's so much to talk about, but I have, 1 minute left? So the last comment that I wanted to say was, there was a rumor that just started about somebody wanting to privatize and sell off our water system. You know, that is a rumor. What our town does, and all municipalities do this, they team with other private companies. We've got a sewer inspection service that comes in that's a private company that inspects lines. I mean, I don't know if you guys have businesses, but we've got excavation companies, we've got concrete companies, we've got all kinds of companies that do work for our town. We need to work with them and see if there's anything that they can help us do to help rein these costs in. But I'll talk with you more about other things.
Yeah.
Oh, I do have 30 seconds? Oh, I've got another minute left?
55 seconds.
Okay. So something that galvanized me to do this is like this Uptown project and this Uptown spending. 20 years ago, Normal used to brag about having zero debt. I mean, if we needed something, we would go out and buy it with cash. If there's something we needed or wanted and we couldn't afford it, we would save the money and then go out and buy it. Now, we are almost, what, $83 million in debt from that, and what do we have to show for it? You know, can anybody name all the new jobs or the new businesses that have come in? No, I mean, there's just very, very few. We are also using this money to poach businesses from Bloomington. This trail lease project, the 3 businesses that the council has said that they need so bad, Farnsworth, already in Bloomington. Afney, already in Bloomington. And the third one was Microsoft, already in Bloomington. So now we're using taxpayer monies to poach from our twin city. You know, we should not be doing that. If we're gonna use taxpayer money, we need to be bringing in new jobs. All we're doing is just hurting our community. Thank you.
I appreciate everybody staying with our timeline. We don't see how we're going to make everything work tonight, this morning. I want to ask our next candidate, Alex Campbell, to please come.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you to Bruce for taking time because we're a talkative bunch, aren't we? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alex Campbell, and if you can't tell by my inability to grow facial hair or the untimely zit that popped up on my face, I am a college student. I'm a junior at ISU. I'm an integrated marketing communications major, which is like the creative side of advertising, and I'm a major in political science. So a little bit about me. I was born in a small Eastern European country called Romania. I was adopted around the age of 1, and I was raised most of my life in Aurora, Illinois. In my time at ISU, I served on a wide range of executive board and leadership roles. I love being involved. I love my time here at ISU. It was tough, like, finding my path here at ISU. My mom actually went here. I spent a lot of my life eating gondola sandwiches from Avanti's anytime they came south. But I didn't want to go here because my mom did. But when I came here, took my tour, learned more about the leadership opportunities, sort of job opportunities that come with like coming through the College of Business, State Farm being a large employer, Country Financial. I was really attracted to the area, and I think that this could be more helpful. So, over the past 2 years, I've been advocating for students on the Student Government Association at ISU. I've been helping them to advocate for pushing back open leasing dates to make sure that leasing companies aren't having predatory practices and forcing people into leases before they're ready. I've ensured that minority voices are heard on ISU's campus, and I've also fought to make sure that student fee dollars are being spent efficiently and wisely. I decided to run for Normal Town Council around November, following the outrageous voting lines at the Bone, if anyone was familiar with that sort of fiasco. And I want to bring my advocacy and leadership skills to a town, the town of Normal, which is a town of about 53,000 people, and about 20,000 of those are students. So I think this platform best fits me and those who feel like their voices haven't been heard. I'm fighting for citizens of Normal that feel like their voices haven't been heard, whether they're students or not. I hope to use my platform to fight for more affordable housing in Normal, as well as bridging the gap between the campus and the community. And what I mean by using that phrase, bridging the gap, is sort of creating a space where the community and ISU aren't seen as two separate entities, right? We're kind of here coexisting, sharing the same space. Without Normal, there wouldn't be an ISU, and sort of vice versa. So I think that a way to do this is to fight and create more job and internship opportunities, right? You've got a lot of really intelligent, brilliant minds graduating from ISU, and I'm sure you all would love to keep them here, right? We just have to make sure that there's enough opportunities for everyone, right? So I find a lot of job opportunities because I'm a College of Business major, so I've got Country Financial, I've got State Farm, those types of opportunities, but you don't see the same sort of opportunities for maybe like social workers. So fighting to expand that range is really going to keep people here and make the town more prosperous for generations to come. This is a prosperous community that's in the midst of a very pivotal time. I'm worried that the town is in risk of overdevelopment in the uptown area, and Normal residents need to see candidates who are there to ensure that their voices are heard, no matter what the issue is or no matter what their age is. So thank you.
And our next candidate, Pat Turner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Greetings, Chairperson Coney-Beard, to the elected officials in the room. I know that it's not easy, and I thank you for your service. To all of you who have gathered here today, this morning, I thank you for taking the time to care enough to listen, to dialogue, to ask hard questions because this is what will make you on that April 2nd voting day, those informed voters. My name is Pat Turner, and I'm running to serve as the next trustee on the Normal Town Council. Since announcing my candidacy, I've had the privilege of meeting all kinds of people, whether it was directly or via social media, over the phone, and I listened to their voices, I heard their concerns, their challenges, and their ideas for a better Normal. Most of the inquiries that I got could be kind of summarized in these 3 questions. Who are you? What is your philosophy of government? And what specific goals do you have in mind for the town council? So I want to answer all 3 of those for you this morning. From my earliest memories, I can recall back in 1st or 2nd grade going to our school principal and asking him to start our first principal's advisory council. It was back then that I knew that the voices of all people mattered, no matter how young or insignificant they seemed. I'm now a much, or not much, older and more mature and insightful version of my younger self. And I stand before you today with over a half a century of life experience, a bachelor's and master's degree from Illinois State University, both in languages and culture, and also in politics and government. I stand with nearly 30 years of advocacy experience, leadership experience, not-for-profit management, and compassionate care at the Center for Hope Outreach Programs and Food Pantry. I've been recognized by the town of Normal with the Illinois Municipal Human Relations Award, tongue twister there, and have continuously sought, as I did back in 1st grade, to find ways to make the society that I live in a better place for all people. My philosophy for government is simple. I believe that government should be by the people, of the people, and for the people. I believe that good policy matters, whether it's at the local level or at the national levels. I believe that cities and towns like ours are made stronger when well-qualified leaders serve with integrity and passion. For me, public service is not just a profession. It's not just an ambition. For me, it's a calling. And if I'm allowed to answer that call, and if I'm privileged to serve on the Normal Town Council, here are some of the issues I plan to address. Affordable housing and homelessness in this community are serious issues. There is rarely a day when the staff at my office aren't asked to find ways to help someone stay in their home, find an affordable home, and for some of them, the battle is already lost as they're seeking our help to find a way to stay in a long-term motel or a way to find fuel to keep the cars or vans that they're living in running. I will work to make sure that the hard-working people of this town find sustainable ways to live in the town that they love. I'll work to ensure that as we as a council are fiscally responsible, using revenue and resources to proactively address issues in the community like safety, food insecurity, community health and wellness. I'll call on us to take a broader look at our transportation to assure that we provide all of our citizens with reliable access to jobs, access to schools, to appointments, shopping, and even healthy recreation. I'll encourage the valuing of diverse cultural perspectives and previously unheard voices that are much needed. I will listen more intently, search more broadly, and hopefully you will afford me with that opportunity with your vote on April 2nd. Thank you.
And our next candidate, Kathleen Lorenz.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I'm Kathleen Lorenz. I'm running for town council for a second term. I'm fourth on the ballot. I'd like to be number one in your hearts and at the voting ballot. A vote for me on April 2nd is a vote for someone who brings experience, a history of being engaged in the community, and someone who has brought an effective style to the council by being an independent thinker and a question asker. Politely persistent and being able to disagree without being disagreeable are two ways that people have described me. I am a 25-year resident of Normal with my husband, Joe. We raised our children, Stephen and Kate, who are now young adults and away at college. Early history of myself. Some of you might not know this. I was born in New Jersey. I moved to Illinois with my family when I was 7. I'm the youngest of 5 children. I received most of my K-12 schooling in a Chicago suburb named Wheaton. Went to college at Purdue to study engineering and got my Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering in 1986. That is where I met my husband, Joe. Shortly after we moved here in '94 for Joe's work, I went back to school at ISU for graduate work and earned my MBA in 1999. Early in my career, I was a management engineer and process improvement analyst at a hospital in Kentucky and then here at Bromed. I've held roles that have ranged from internal consultant on process and systems improvement, particularly as it relates to customer service, and I've been a manager at a couple of medical practices in town. More recently, I branched into some not-for-profit work. I'm currently the executive director for an organization called Leadership Illinois. It's a statewide organization for women professional development, and particularly for leadership development. I've also done some external consulting. In 2015, I was the Certificate of Need consultant for the New Birth Center that went up here in Bloomington on the east side. And more recently, I have been working as a change management consultant on a project for our United Way. Someone asked me recently, why do you like being on council? Why do you do this? It is because, honestly, at the heart, I'm a problem solver. And I love learning. I think both of these attributes really have led me to enjoy meeting with residents and community members and staying engaged, and particularly meeting with those who have different views than mine. I always find it a challenge and a success when we can walk away, although we may think about things differently, but agree on something, and I always learn something. I like to say that Purdue taught me to think critically and creatively to solve problems, and that the ISU MBA program taught me to dig into the facts and merits of a case in order to make the best decision. I had a professor that always said, dig, dig, as we studied different case studies. Because of this, I am that geeky person who looks forward to receiving her council packet every 2 weeks and diving into it. I love the breadth of topics that we have to cover and thrive on the challenge to study them and to make the best decision. Prior to serving on council, I served from 2004 to 08 on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and then from 08 to 15 on the Planning Commission. Both of these appointments, I believe, readied me to take that next step onto council and shortened my learning curve in the transition as part of that. My philosophy about local government is that you have to be accessible to residents and engaged in the community that you serve. Local government is where the work has to get done. Council and town staff work together to ensure that our day-to-day environment is safe and productive. They ensure public safety and things like police and fire, accessible roads, clean water, garbage is picked up. And council in particular needs to set the policies to encourage the vitality of our community. To me, that means being open for businesses to locate here, for people being able to live here comfortably, and to enjoy living here. I believe that local elected officials have to work well with each other, with other units of government, as well as build relations with our local business partners. My priorities for council, if elected, are threefold. 1, to advocate for good stewardship of our resources. That means closely monitoring our costs and working within our expected revenue streams. 2 and 3 priorities are kind of related. Economic growth and working with our community partners to sustain our town's vitality. They go hand in hand as they both focus on our economic health. We are in a new phase of our local economy, following closure of Mitsubishi in 2016, and after a good 30-year run of that organization, and following significant restructure of our long-time major employer, State Farm. We need not respond to this with panic or fear, but instead continue on a measured and steady leadership to take us to the next level of economic prosperity. I believe I bring that steady leadership in these somewhat unsteady times. And it's not far off that Rivian has been delivering on its promises and with promising headlines. And I have every reason to believe that Rivian will be a successful organization for us, as well as Brandt Industries. These are just some of the promising signals on the horizon, and on council, I would work with our community partners to shepherd in this new era of economic prosperity. Thank you.
Now we call to the podium our 8th candidate, Dave Shields.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. So we're just many minutes before getting out of here. I'm Dave Shields, and I am up here because I can do the job. I've been in this town for 36 and a half years, quietly giving back, quietly trying to make this a better place for folks to live. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. But first, let me tell you about this. I grew up in Arcola, grew up this much in Arcola. I'm 6'7". I played basketball-ish in high school. When you're this tall, they make you play basketball, and I kind of made them regret that. I'm not good at playing basketball. I am pretty good at playing the piano, though, and I played the piano for Country Church. I played the piano for Oregon for the Arcola United Methodist Church. So I've got a musical background, so after I graduated Arcola High School, came to Illinois Wesleyan to major in pre-med, and ended up playing the piano for voice majors and directing scenes a lot more than studying organic chem. Turns out that's not how you become a doctor. So after a couple of years at Wesleyan, I transferred to Eastern Illinois University, and 3 years later I had a degree in computer management and a job at State Farm. 36 and a half years later, here we are. I became part of the arts community almost immediately in town. I performed at community players, at ISU, at Heartland Theater, at Prairie Fire Theater. I produced, I played, and out of all of that, ended up becoming a board member for Community Players Theater. That was my first experience working with a lot of interesting people with a lot of different ideas on how to get something done. That's fun. I know you've all probably been on committees where people have wildly disparate ideas on how to get to here. But you listen, you're all focused on the goal, you make it work. I'm also a member of the LGBTQ community in town, and I mention that because I think it's very cool that there are at least four LGBTQ candidates for both Bloomington and Normal Council. And it's even cooler that nobody really knows that. It's not a thing. And I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that, because 20 years ago, when Bloomington and Normal were talking about adding sexual orientation to their non-discrimination clauses, didn't work the first time. I and some other friends got together, formed Advocacy Council for Human Rights, which is now Prairie Pride Coalition, got to work, had the hard conversations with people who didn't disagree with us, changed hearts and minds, listened, persevered, and now here we are. Out of that, I also became the founder of Pride Group at State Farm. Without either of those, we wouldn't have 4 LGBT candidates today, I think. And I'm saying that because I've had experience having hard conversations, getting difficult things done. And that's, I think, part of what the Township Council does. I'm a graduate of the Multicultural Leadership Program, which is an organization which fosters leadership for servant leaders. Not necessarily people that want to climb ladders, but people that want to give back, because that's what you do. I was taught that service is the rent that you pay for your time on earth. That's, I think, why all of us are doing this, why all of you in this room have done this in the past. I'm also on the board from the MCLP. I was a member of the 2040 Vision Committee, which created the current comprehensive plan for the town of Normal. I'm currently on the planning commission for the town of Normal, trying to implement that vision. I've done the work of making this town better. I want to continue to do the work of making this town better. And I'm asking for your help in making this town better. And I'm not in it for the glory. I don't think any of us are in this for the glory. You don't come to a room of Republicans in McLean County and say, hey, I'm gay, would you vote for me for the glory? You do it because you respect other people's opinions and you know that you're in this for the right reason, to make something better that lives beyond you. So I hope that you will help me do that on April 2nd. Thanks.
And our last of our speakers to come and share their 5 minutes of glory at the podium, I'm calling up Carl. Would you please come and introduce yourself? Carl Sela.
My name is Carl Sela. I have the advantage here of going last because I can, to some extent, say, yeah, what they said. I got into this late. I tried to get petition signatures, but I didn't start until late November. It's amazing how many people aren't home on Black Friday to sign the petitions. I came close, but didn't make it. At that point, I'm doing this to give back to the community. Largely, government is fiscally mismanaged. Although I think town normal is the biggest issue, Heartland College is as well, so I shifted gears. Fine, I'll run for Heartland College. As Dave said, I'm not in this for the ego. As I was about to turn my forms in, I found out there was a better candidate going for the slot I wanted. So I dropped back out and went back to my original, which is Normal Town Council, but unfortunately as write-in, so I definitely have an uphill battle there. About me, like Stan, I'm a townie. I was born in Bloomington. I went through grade school, junior high, graduated from Normal Community, which is now Kingsley. I did take some classes at ISU while I was at Normal. I went to U of I got an engineering degree, so I'm a problem solver like Kathleen. During that whole time, I worked off and on for my parents who had an accounting firm, so I have a definite financial background. I don't like Karen. Karen's probably a little better, but I'm good at crunching the numbers. After that, I held various jobs up in the Chicago area before I came back down here, started a family. I worked at ISU, and kind of like Stan, I didn't pay any attention to politics. You know, I just kind of rode my bike to the library and swim lessons and whatever else. When I got back, I found out that things are more complicated than in high school and never. People say Normal's a great place. It is a great place. I love growing up here. However, with the difficulties of Mitsubishi closing down, State Farm cutting back, and so on, we need to look at the economic realities. And I think the current council approaches things backwards. They kind of, whether it's true or not, the appearance certainly is, they look at what they want, they look at where they can get the money, which sometimes includes reducing needs, and then they decide how much they need to raise taxes. It should be the other way around. How much money do we have? Make sure we address our needs. What do we have left over for our wants? So we should not, as Stan says, be giving tax money away to companies that aren't bringing in new jobs. There's a lot of talk about right fit businesses. To me, the right fit business is one that starts jobs, not one that the town council likes or likes the town council or whatever else. Sorry, again, being late to the thing. I was actually not invited to this. I asked, got no response. I just kind of showed up, so I wasn't aware of the 5-minute speech. So this is all ad-lib, other than the notes I have on my business cards. Like Joel and Karen, I'm big on the library. I used to be on the library board. Back when they were first discussing getting a new location and so on, one of the first things they did was start a foundation so that it could be privately funded, because we knew, with all the stuff going on in uptown and so on, that private money is the best way to expand government if you can. Other candidates have spoken about the poor, the underrepresented, and so on. Again, the impression is the town council doesn't listen to the people. They passed a recycling ordinance recently that disparately hits the poor. So they cut back on the arguable needs of the town of recycling and shifted that cost burden to apartment dwellers, which, yes, a lot of them are students, but also the way it's worded hits people in smaller buildings that have less money harder. We need to look at the full impacts of this as opposed to what do we want, where can we cut to get it. We need to look at the needs and the people. Most importantly, the town is going to be moving forward with a sports complex. Again, probably over the objections of most of the residents. That's going to cost people, what, at least hundreds of dollars. And even the consultants that have an interest in saying, yes, build it, said it will never make a profit. With the rosiest of pictures, it just doesn't work. But the town doesn't listen, just like the Coliseum in Bloomington. We don't need a white elephant like that. Basically, I'm of the town, for the town. Please vote for me on April 2nd. Thank you.
And because I've messed his name up so many times, I'm going to say it again. Carl Sila. S-I-L-A, correct? Okay. I owe you that much as I didn't say it correctly earlier. We're going to open the floor now to questions from all of you for our candidates. And so I think in order to facilitate, I've told them that we wanted to restrain their answers to maybe a minute or two at the most to allow everyone to have a chance. I'm going to ask our candidates actually to come up and stand up here in the front together. So that way they can kind of speak to the questions as you pose them. I will serve as